The galaxy had an unspoken rule: never bother examining small blue planets orbiting middle-aged stars. They rarely produced anything interesting. But Earth, as the analysts of the Neva Imperium soon discovered, broke that rule with unexpected audacity. They've harnessed flight, nuclear energy, and digital computation, muttered strategist Vurak, squinting at holographic projections of Earth. But their species did it in under 10,000 years. That's statistically reckless. A murmur of discomfort spread across the council chamber. Rapid evolution made them nervous. Directionless creativity made them terrified. An official report was filed. Classification: potential threat. Recommendation: control conquest. Designation: target Earth. Meanwhile, on that unsuspecting planet, Dr. Aya Morales sat in the darkened briefing room of the International Space Research Coalition. A single satellite image hovered above the display, a spiraling pattern of unknown symbols, detected beyond lunar orbit. The data team assumed it was nothing: static debris, some cosmic prank. Aya, however, stared at it with a stillness that suggested concern. "Space doesn't prank us," she said quietly. "Someone sent us deliberately." Seated across from her was Dex Turner, a systems engineer whose every sentence seemed to wrestle with sarcasm. He tapped rapidly on an overworked tablet. "The message doesn't match any encryption I've seen," he said, then paused. "Actually, it might match 3 separate NATO ciphers and a 19th century puzzle game, which makes no sense and is probably going to give me a migraine." "Whatever the language?" Aya asked. "It would be a very unfriendly one," Dex replied. The room lights flickered. A storm boiled over New Geneva HQ, rattling the windows. Aya dismissed the junior researchers and turned to the only one left, a quiet astrophysicist who still had hope in her eyes. Luna Patel. Luna was young but carried a quiet depth, one that made people lean forward when she spoke. She stood beside the projection and traced the spiral with her finger. "It's organized, repeating, almost like a rhythm." She hesitated, then smiled. "It reminds me of certain forms of poetry." Dex dropped his stylus. "Aliens are sending haikus now." "Maybe not haikus," Luna said, "but there's pattern, intention. It feels thoughtful." Aya watched her closely. Luna had a habit of seeing meaning where others found noise. Aya considered that valuable. A tool forged from curiosity rather than caution. Exactly what Earth would need if they were truly being observed. But the world wasn't ready to accept alien contact. Not yet. Politicians argued. Academics debated. Media hosts turned uncertainty into spectacle. Aya ignored all of it. She instead focused on the data and the people who could truly interpret it. Within 72 hours, everything changed. The signal repeated and then altered. It began responding to human radio broadcasts as if listening, learning. A chilling discovery followed. Every global satellite experienced a synchronized 1.2-second blackout. That kind of precision required celestial engineering and conscious intent. The message appeared again, translated by Luna's algorithms into 3 chilling words. "We are watching." Governments panicked. Aya didn't. She simply stood before the gathered scientists of Earth and spoke evenly. "If someone is watching, someone is planning. We must prepare before we are judged." From that moment, she led the creation of Project Firefly, a coalition of scientists, thinkers, builders, and anyone who could confront the unknown without hesitation. Dex Turner was her first recruit, though he accepted grudgingly. "You want me to fight aliens with spare parts and caffeine?" he asked. "More or less," I replied. "You're good at impossible tasks." "I'm good at breaking instructions," Dex corrected, "which I suppose might help." Luna joined without hesitation. She began mapping alien patterns onto starlight, believing the answer might lie in the cosmos itself. "There's a resonance to the signal," she said, "as if it's connected to more than just us, as if they're testing whether we can recognize ourselves in it." Aya didn't entirely understand, but she trusted Luna, a rare instinct in her line of work. Trust was as valuable as data. The final core recruit arrived uninvited. He walked into Aya's lab, wearing combat boots and carrying a file marked classified. "Mason Reed, former special operations, officially retired, unofficially impossible to remove from government databases. His expression was carved from dry humor and survival instinct. "I heard you're building Earth's response team," he said. "You'll be needing someone for the part where everything goes wrong." I had glanced at his file. Mason had worked in war zones most people couldn't point to on maps. He'd survived ambushes, evacuations, and experiments, some military, others bureaucratic. "We're not planning for combat," I replied carefully. "Not yet." Mason nodded slowly. "You should be. Observation is reconnaissance. Reconnaissance means invasion." Dex leaned back in his chair. "Wonderful. Doom and gloom with tactical backing." "I'm not doom," Mason said simply. "I'm preparation." Aya studied him for several seconds. He waited, patient and unblinking. She finally extended a hand. "Welcome, Project Firefly." Mason cracked a rare smile. Over the following weeks, Firefly evolved rapidly. The four of them became an improbable unit. Still untested, often conflicted, but unmistakably necessary. Aya provided clarity, direction, and restraint. Dex built machines that shouldn't have worked, but somehow did. Luna searched for meaning, believing the message might hide a warning or an invitation. Mason anticipated conflict, quietly shaping civilian defense strategies without ever stating them aloud. As global skepticism faded, global awareness grew. Something was indeed watching. And then came undeniable proof. A military telescope in Chile caught movement in high orbit, beyond any known satellite trajectory. An object glided through space with predatory ease and unmistakable coordination. It didn't transmit. It didn't respond. It only observed. The world saw the image. Aya saw an opening. "They're measuring our behavior," she said. "Let's respond, not with fear, but with something stronger." "Diplomacy?" Luna asked. "Intention," Aya replied. Dex rubbed his temples. "I hope intention can outrun a laser cannon." "We're not at war," Aya said softly. "Not yet." Mason adjusted his watch. "Good. That means we still have time to be underestimated." The four stood at the observation window, watching storm clouds drift across Earth's atmosphere. The planet looked small, fragile, even lonely, but Aya felt something else rising beneath its surface. Not panic, not resignation. Potential. The alien scout ship did not fire. It continued observing, silent and calculating. It likely expected fear, chaos, paralysis. Humanity, however, did something new. It began to prepare. And in the vast, cold dark beyond Earth's sky, something watched and hesitated. The alien vessel did not leave orbit. It only shifted position, just enough to remind humanity that it was watching and recalibrating. Politicians issued speeches. News channels debated endlessly. But the world understood one thing with chilling clarity. This was not a visit. It was an assessment. Within a month, Project Firefly expanded from a covert initiative to a global nerve center. Aya Morales became its quiet axis, never loud, never boastful, but unshakably steady. Her voice carried a kind of measured urgency that made people feel not safe, but capable. She didn't promise survival. She promised direction. Dex Turner, buried beneath cables and malfunctioning prototypes, built systems faster than he could document them. He reprogrammed weather satellites to scan for non-terrestrial signals. He modified drones to operate unpredictably, erratic enough to avoid conventional targeting systems. Sleep became optional. Coffee became sacred. "I don't invent," he muttered once, soldering a wire with trembling hands. "I salvage possibility from bad ideas." Luna Patel emerged as Firefly's unexpected compass. While others studied code and machinery, she tracked the rhythm of solar flares and gravitational oscillations. She discovered that the alien signals aligned with cosmic events, as if the mysterious watchers were testing whether humanity could detect the universe's hidden dialogue. "They're not just evaluating our technology," she explained to Aya. "They're evaluating how we think." Mason Reed, meanwhile, prepared for conflict without ever naming it. He trained volunteers in small numbers, teaching them survival strategies disguised as emergency response drills. He replaced panic with readiness. He treated every weakness as an opportunity for unconventional strength. If attacked, humanity would not fight conventionally. It would fight unpredictably. But Firefly was not united by fear. What grew instead was momentum. Scientists uploaded ideas into shared archives. Engineers repurposed abandoned factories. Artists and musicians were invited to brainstorming sessions, not as decoration, but as catalysts. This puzzled the Never analysts deeply. They collaborate across unrelated fields, one alien strategist observed. They treat creativity as infrastructure that is statistically unsound. Aya understood what the observers could not. Humans responded to danger not by narrowing their scope, but by widening it. And then the unexpected happened. The alien ship transmitted again, not words, but a sequence of complex geometric patterns. Luna stayed up for 2 nights without rest, analyzing it. When she finally spoke, her voice trembled not from exhaustion, but awe. "It's not a threat," she whispered. "It's a test. They want us to solve it." Dex joined her at the monitor, scanning the cipher. "It looks like a mathematical riddle." "Or a poem," Luna replied. Aya watched the patterns unfold across the display. "Then give them an answer," she instructed. The Firefly team responded not with weaponry, but with ingenuity. Data scientists worked with composers to encode solutions into harmonic frequencies. Gamers reverse engineered the puzzle through simulation. Linguists built layered interpretations, each more abstract than the last. Mason, skeptical but curious, watched the process evolve into an organized chaos only humans could execute. Luna delivered the final transmission personally. The response was elegant, concise, and unmistakably human. It was not merely correct. It was creative. The alien vessel paused its slow orbit. No further signals arrived for 37 hours. That silence pressed heavily across every continent. Some believed the aliens were impressed. Others believed they were preparing retribution. The truth emerged with terrifying clarity. Earth's telescopes detected 3 additional ships, larger, faster, far more advanced, entering the solar system. They formed a perfect triangle just beyond Mars. They were not responding. They were positioning. Aya gathered the core team. Lights dimmed, and Earth's star maps lit the room with pale blue illumination. The weight of the moment settled heavily between them. They brought reinforcements. Dex said, "Which means we passed the test or failed it spectacularly." "They aren't just studying us," Mason added. "They're strategizing. That formation? It's military." Luna felt a cold certainty bloom in her chest. "They're deciding whether we're dangerous or irrelevant." Aya folded her hands. Her voice remained calm, though every eye in the room watched her for signs of fear. "If they are measuring our potential, then we must show them our greatest asset." "Which is what?" Dex asked. Aya looked at each of them in turn. At the engineer whose failures bred innovation. At the dreamer who saw patterns in starlight. At the soldier who prepared for catastrophe without surrendering hope. Adaptability, Aya said, they expect predictable defenses. Instead, we will offer unpredictable ingenuity. Preparations accelerated. Civilian tech labs converted into strategy hubs. Engineers built modular machines designed to change function mid-operation. AI systems were coded with randomized decision trees. Medical students studied battlefield triage. Musicians began sonic experiments to disrupt sensor arrays. Humanity was not preparing for a single plan. Humanity was preparing for all plans. In the Never Imperium Council chamber, alarm grew. "They do not specialize," one alien reported. "They diversify. They break conventional strategy structures. They do not aim for perfection. They aim for surprise. Then they must be neutralized before their development escalates," another replied. That conclusion should have ended the debate. But the first alien scout, still in orbit, had logged every observation. Its data stunned the Council. Humanity solved problems faster when pressure increased. They grew more creative the more endangered they felt. They didn't fracture under strain. They evolved. Then invasion may accelerate their potential, the lead strategist said grimly. "We must weigh the risk of contact carefully. Human creativity may prove contagious." Back on Earth, Mason reviewed satellite footage of the alien ships. They're waiting, studying, trying to understand us before they strike. Dex exhaled slowly. Let's make that very difficult. Aya stood at the observation window, the same one that had overlooked Earth storms weeks ago. But this time, what she saw was not foreboding. It was momentum. Humanity was no longer scrambling to react. It was rising to meet challenge with invention. 1,000 ideas collided into 10,000 more. Earth didn't look frightened. It looked ready. Luna stared at the stars and felt something unfamiliar flutter inside her. A quiet belief. If they came to measure us, she murmured, they may have already seen the one thing they didn't expect. Aya turned to her. What's that? Luna smiled gently. Progress. The ships beyond Mars remained silent, motionless, watching, as if they had sensed something new awakening on Earth. Something unpredictable, something human. The 3 alien ships beyond Mars stayed motionless for days, poised like sharpened blades against the void. They transmitted nothing, yet their silence was louder than any warning. Every telescope on Earth focused upward. Every trained eye sensed a countdown that had no numbers. Inside Project Firefly's control chamber, Aya Morales reviewed satellite data, as if time itself depended on the angle of her observation. She felt tension, but not defeat. Humanity now stood on the edge of something uncharted. Not surrender, not triumph, but an unprecedented test of will. Dex turned her pace behind her monitors, muttering calculations and stumbling over incomplete equations. Their ships are designed for precision. Ours are designed for possibility, he said, rubbing fatigue from his temples. That means we have one advantage. Unpredictability isn't a tactic, it's our nature. Luna listened quietly, eyes fixed on star charts. She sensed something intangible, an intention emanating from the alien vessels. Not hostile yet not benign. They aren't waiting for the right moment to strike, she said softly. They're waiting to understand us well enough to avoid surprises. They fear unknown variables. You can't understand chaos, Mason Reed replied. He stood at the window, posture steady, gaze sharp. You can only adapt to it or get hit by it. Aya stepped forward. Then let's give them too many variables to measure. She turned to Dex. Begin preparations for Operation Mirrored Sky. The term had no official explanation, only a principle. Make Earth unreadable. Within hours, abandoned radio towers reactivated across the globe. Old broadcast stations transmitted signals encoded with layered ciphers and fractured musical compositions. Dex repurposed weather satellites to generate shifting electronic decoys. Luna designed celestial illusions, projections meant to distort alien sensors and mimic astronomical anomalies. Mason coordinated ground operations that simulated false troop movements, false panic, even false negotiations. Earth became a symphony of deliberate confusion. The alien ships responded with sudden urgency. Their scanning frequencies spiked. Their positioning shifted. They projected beams toward the planet, like invisible scalpels. The attempt to decode Earth intensified, but the planet only became stranger. As if sensing this rising tension, Luna turned to Aya. If they cannot predict us, they may escalate force. That's why we must change the conversation. Aya replied, not through words, but through intent. With a single directive, Firefly transmitted humanity's boldest message yet. It was composed of layered sequences, quantum puzzles, encrypted theories, abstract mathematics, improvised melodies, and one unexpected addition Mason insisted upon, a recording of children laughing. Aya questioned it at first. Mason only said, warriors don't scare them. Innocence might. Silence followed the transmission, a silence thick enough that even Luna held her breath. Then everything changed. One alien ship broke formation. It approached Earth's orbit, slowly, cautiously, as though fearful of waking something ancient. Dex watched its trajectory with disbelief. They're responding, but not aggressively, almost like they're negotiating with themselves. Luna stepped closer to the window. They're curious, not about our strength, but our creativity. They're terrified of unpredictability, yet drawn to it. Mason considered this. Curiosity is leverage, and fear mixed with curiosity He allowed himself a rare grin. That's hesitation. Aya understood the stakes instantly. Then we must strike before they do. She didn't mean weapons. She meant decoration. Within minutes, Firefly activated its most audacious protocol yet. Operation Schrödinger, a plan with no fixed outcome, composed of layered possibilities. Every stage could change dynamically. Every signal could shift interpretation. Every drone, satellite, and ground team operated autonomously yet incompletely, each designed to appear unfinished, impossible to measure, a strategy that was not a strategy at all. Mason oversaw the rollout and laughed. It's not defense. It's philosophical warfare. Dex nodded. They expect order. We'll give them probability. Luna gazed upward. We're showing them what it means to be human. Uncertainty as evolution. Hours passed. Then, without warning, the lead alien ship transmitted a direct message translated through automated systems. It was short, hesitant, and disturbingly sincere. Earth, what are you becoming? Aya answered with composure. She broadcast a new message, not a threat, not a plea, but a statement of profound clarity. We adapt. That is our answer. Seconds later, alien transmission spiked. Fragmented signals echoed across every channel. Static mixed with fragments of their language, glimpses of their panic. One sentence surfaced repeatedly in the translation logs. Humanity is volatile potential. The phrase spread through every analysis division on Earth and echoed throughout the alien fleet. The Never Imperium debated furiously. Some advocated immediate conquest, fearing that delay would allow humans to develop even more unsettling methods. Others argued the opposite. If contact accelerated human evolution, perhaps provocation itself was the true danger. The conflict reached its peak when a final message arrived, encrypted but decipherable. We may not conquer you without becoming like you. Aya repeated those words to her team in the quiet that followed. Mason exhaled deeply. Dex stopped moving entirely. Luna felt a chill of wonder. That, she whispered, is their fear, not destruction. Transformation. Aya nodded once. The stars flickered on the display screen, and 3 alien ships remained frozen in silent indecision. They came to measure our threat, Aya said, but we showed them our possibility. And possibility, Mason added, has no boundaries. The alien ships began to retreat, not hastily but cautiously, like explorers stepping back from a discovery too powerful to claim. No weapons were fired. No invasion occurred, yet the message was unmistakable. Earth had become more dangerous than conquest. It had become contagious. Aya stood at the window and watched fragments of twilight paint the horizon. For the first time in weeks, her shoulders eased. They won't attack, she said quietly. Dex looked uncertain. You're sure? No, I replied. But that's exactly why they'll stay away. A slow dawn crept over the sky, gold against blue. Humanity had not won or lost. Something far more profound had happened. Earth had introduced a new variable into the galaxy, human potential. The alien ships departed silently, as if afraid that noise alone might provoke further human invention. They left behind nothing. No threat, no treaty, only distance. Yet Earth felt profoundly altered. Fear did not vanish, but it shifted shape. It became incentive. Project Firefly did not disband. It evolved. Aya Morales received invitations to speak at global assemblies, though she preferred brief, purposeful statements. She never spoke of triumph, only transition. We did not repel an invasion, she told world leaders. We postponed one and redefined it. Our future depends on how we grow, not how we gloat. Her quiet resolve created stability, but also implied responsibility. Humanity had demonstrated creativity under pressure. Now it needed to prove wisdom without an enemy. Dex Turner returned to his lab and found it far quieter than before. The chaos had thinned, replaced not by calm, but by clarity. Many of his accidental creations, born from desperation, showed potential for peaceful application. One malfunctioning propulsion prototype was transformed into a clean energy reactor. His AI-driven drone system evolved into disaster response technology. standing amid the hum of machines and cooling circuits. Dex felt something unfamiliar. Direction. Failure, he muttered while revising a blueprint, turns into progress when pressure changes purpose. Mason Reed traded battlefield drills for strategy courses. He taught crisis preparedness as a form of discipline rather than fear. Uncertainty isn't weakness, he told students. It's terrain. Learn to walk where maps don't exist. His methods became doctrine, not military, but developmental, shaping how communities prepare for disruption rather than hid from it. And Luna Patel, whose dreams had charted patterns hidden in starlight, began writing curriculum for a new discipline, astrosynthesis. Not the study of stars as objects, but as conversations. We must understand the sky as if it is watching, she said, because it already has. Her classes filled quickly. Some attended for science, others for poetry, many for both. Aya saw in each of them a path forward, branching like roots and constellations, not unified but connected. Humanity's strength had never been singular. It was collective unpredictability, braided into purpose. Months passed in uneasy peace. Then one evening, an anomaly appeared in Luna's sky charts. Not hostile, not coded, just new. A faint pattern in a region of space untouched by prior transmissions. She ran algorithms. Nothing matched. She called Dex. He ran diagnostics. Nothing failed. A small audience gathered around her terminal. No one spoke. Finally, a simple translation surfaced. 3 words. We are listening. Aya arrived moments later. She read the message without surprise. Observation, she said, not surveillance. Dex frowned. Could be a warning. Mason considered it, or an invitation. But Luna absorbed the words differently. It means, she said slowly, that we did not scare them away. We challenged them to reconsider contact. Aya nodded, expression calm. Then our challenge is to become worth contacting. The message spread across every network within hours. It did not inspire panic this time. Instead, it sparked debate, innovation, competition, collaboration. New programs formed. Search initiatives, long-range probes, language models designed to speak in layered thought rather than simple syntax. The world began preparing, not for invasion, but for conversation. Project Firefly became something larger, a global institute of adaptive research. Its purpose was both scientific and philosophical. Its guiding principle, drafted by Aya herself, was inscribed onto the entrance wall. To understand is to evolve. To adapt is to endure. To imagine is to become. Yet even in this hopeful atmosphere, uncertainty lingered. Mason often reminded Aya that curiosity could still conceal strategy. Dex worried about misuse of Firefly technology. Luna, however, held a quiet conviction. They didn't retreat because they feared destruction, she reflected. They withdrew because they feared transformation, and that fear is the beginning of curiosity. One night, Aya stood alone on the roof of Firefly headquarters, gazing at the stars. The air held a fragile stillness. She felt no triumph, only possibility. And possibility, she believed, was more powerful than victory. Victory ended storylines. Possibility created new ones. Mason joined her, leaning against the railing. You think they'll return? Eventually, she answered. But we won't be the same when they do. He nodded. Nor will they. Dex arrived a moment later, carrying a tablet with fluctuating readings. Sky traffic is changing, he said. Not alien, human. We've launched more exploratory satellites this year than in any other decade. His voice held pride, lightly disguised as data. Luna emerged last, quietly observing the vast canvas of stars. We used to view space as empty distance, she said. Now we treat it as a question. I had glanced at her. And what do you hope the answer will be? Luna smiled with the serenity of someone who had grown comfortable with uncertainty. I don't want an answer. I want dialogue. The team stood together without speaking further, as they had stood months earlier, looking at a sky that once felt threatening. But now, the same sky felt expansive. Not a battlefield. Not a stage. A beginning. Then, without announcement, a new message arrived. Short, undecorated, unmistakably genuine. How did you do all that with nothing? Aya read it twice. Then she laughed, not dismissively, but warmly, because it was the right question, the one Earth had earned. She composed a reply herself. No encryption, no equations, only words. We never had nothing. We had imagination. And imagination is always enough. The transmission departed Earth's atmosphere, like a quiet spark, crossing the void with no expectation. Perhaps it would be heard, perhaps not. But that no longer mattered. Earth had spoken, not in defiance, but in declaration. The galaxy would choose whether to fear, admire, study, or question humanity. But whatever the choice, one truth had taken root. Humanity had stepped beyond survival. It had stepped into becoming. And somewhere in distant systems, something listened and wondered what humanity might imagine next.